Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to be able to speak with you about purple teaming and supercharging it with your threat intelligence. So I am Xena Olsen, also known as Cheerio on Twitter. I have 8 GX certifications, an MBA in IT management. I'm also a cybersecurity doctoral student. I'm in my last year of studies, and I am a huge fan of purple, of all things purple. And before I get started, I have a quick note from the lawyers that basically I am here in my individual capacity and I am not speaking on behalf of any of my employers, and the use of SAI's Purple Team Exercise Framework does not necessarily endorse them as a vendor. Okay. So now we can get started. So since COVID and the pandemic started, I know that most of us have been staying in. So since I couldn't come to you and bring the party to you, I'm going to share it with you in this talk. And I'll be using themes from different club type music, house and chill and bass, chill artists, to take you out for a night on the town to show you how purple teaming can benefit from cyber threat intelligence. I'll take you to the party, I'll take you to the after party, and the after party. So we're going to be stars, essentially, of our night out as we build out an intelligence-driven purple team exercise. And in this talk, just so that you know, it's not going to be focusing on the Walmarts or the Microsofts or the Targets or the Googles of the world. This talk is pretty much for everyone else. So first, I'm going to discuss some issues related to purple teaming. So if you're lucky enough to have a purple team at your organization or resources that you can dedicate to purple team exercises, you'll find that there might be some disagreements about what purple team actually is and what it does. I've heard some places doing continuous testing of controls as a form of purple teaming. I've heard other places running full purple team exercises with the blue and red teams. I've heard of the red emulating the latest threat actor in the news to see kind of where their org stands in the event of an attack. I've also heard people testing the various techniques in a lab environment, like the different techniques related to MITRE ATT&CK as part of a purple team exercise. And basically, there's so many more variations than just what I shared, from black box adversary emulation to white box adversary emulation, where the blue team is fully aware of all the TTPs that are going to be tested, to a hybrid model. I mean, basically, to sum it up, purple teaming is very unique to the organization, and there are varying degrees of purple maturity, essentially. So I'll be focusing on the organizations that are willing to tackle having an intelligence-driven purple team exercise. So if you're running purple team exercises with blue and red teams, it is really, really important that they collaborate. Collaboration is key. It leads to the sharing of ideas, increasing of skill sets, and most importantly, the improvement of the security organization's posture through detections and mitigation strategies. So how can you justify intelligence-driven purple team exercises at your organization when purple teaming looks so different at every single org? And more importantly, how can intelligence-driven purple team exercises help teams collaborate and drive improvement of the security posture at the organization? Well, I'll offer you some ideas in this talk that you can take back to your organization to help you improve your security posture. So for our night out, our evening out, I'll start with some basic purple team exercise framework, or the PTEF. And then I'll move into the threat intelligence process. And finally, I'll share some after exercise ideas with you. So we're going to use the Purple Team exercise framework in this particular talk to step through a Purple Team exercise to show you how CTI can help your Purple Team exercises. So according to the Purple Team exercise framework, the Purple Team exercises start with the cyber threat intelligence-led exercise, emulating tactics, techniques, and procedures leveraged by known malicious actors actively targeting the organization to help identify and remediate gaps in the organization's security posture. The PTEF, the Purple Team Exercise Framework, uses the following frameworks, models, and processes. So MITRE ATT&CK, of course, Eric von Bugenhaut's threat intelligence process, and David J. Bianco's Pyramid of Pain. Also, too, as a former cyber threat intelligence analyst, I do recommend incorporating the Diamond model and the adversary detection pipeline model to help build out the threat intelligence products that feed the Purple Team exercises. So some of the goals of the Purple Team exercise framework include testing the attack chains against a target organization, to train the organization's defenders, i.e. the blue team, to test TTPs that have not been tested before in the organization or need additional validation, to test the process between security teams, preparation for zero knowledge red team engagements, black box red teaming essentially, red team reveal or replay after zero knowledge red team engagements, and to foster a collaborative culture within the security organization. So basically, the Purple Team exercise framework provides a framework for improvement of the security teams, processes, detection, response, and visibility of the organization. So the threat intel process, Eric van Bugenhout of Inviso, the course author of SANS Purple Team courses, SEC 599 and SEC 699, shared his threat intelligence process for purple teaming. The PTEF, Purple Team exercise framework, suggests using Eric's threat intelligence process. So since it suggests using that, we'll use it for the purposes of this talk to step through some examples with a little bit of CTI sprinkled in throughout by myself. So I'm going to show you some practical examples of how to incorporate cyber threat intelligence into the Purple Team exercise framework. I'm going to provide a few different use cases so that you can tailor the ideas and suggestions for your organization. So since we have a night out, let me take you dancing. First, we are going to get started with understanding the target organization as part of Eric's threat intelligence process. And honestly, it's a very, very important part of this whole thing because having intelligence about your organization and what's going on internally is amazing and will definitely help you in this process. So an idea that you can leverage that's part of the adversary detection pipeline is to work off of the business, departmental, and CTI team initiatives. So at your particular company, there's a lot of places they have like overarching annual reports or goals or something where the people that lead the business have an idea as far as how they want things to happen in the organization. And so you can take that, extrapolate it, and then use it as a prioritization for your threat intelligence collection. So let's say you have a department and they are doing a new revenue generating initiative, and the people within that organization that are involved in that, and you can see the targeting via email that these people are receiving that may or may not have to do with the initiative, but work as an initial foothold to get into the organization to potentially disrupt that particular initiative that has to do with the revenue generating incentive or project or whatever it is for the company, right? Whatever it is specific to your organization, you can take that and use that to prioritize some of the internal intelligence, I guess you could say, for your organization as you're doing and performing your data collection. So another thing is understanding not only what's going on from leadership from the top down, but also understanding what's going on with your industry verticals, understanding threat actors that have historically targeted your organization or your vertical even, understanding where the threat actors are currently. Have they done anything in the past, 10 years? And also to understanding your technology stack from external to internal and then internal to external, so that you understand what type of detections and what type of visibility that you currently have based on your current control and security stack. So that way, when you're performing your intelligence and looking at what's available, you'll make it to where you're like, okay, you can track the gaps within your organization. You can track what you expect to see, if that particular attack, whatever it is launched within your environment, and kind of move forward from there. And so now we're going to identify the adversary, and we're going to use 3 different ways to identify an adversary through the adversary detection pipeline model. And basically the adversary detection pipeline model refers to the analysis of organization-specific threats via structured and unstructured formats for an adversary detection pipeline focused on business, departmental, and CTI initiatives. We are going to look at email attack data. We're going to use public threat actor reports and open source intelligence that is specific to your organization's threat landscape. And then third, we are going to look at an incident that your organization had, theoretical. So email attack data, when you're looking through it, the block data can actually provide you a lot of information. Even if it was blocked, you can still get the TTPs from it and get value and have an understanding of how your organization will be essentially targeted in the event you have control failures or something bypasses the current detections that you have. Another thing is utilizing the diamond model based upon what's coming at your organization, and you can even use it to pivot to find additional infrastructure and track the various email threats that are coming at you from people that want to target your organization. So this just gives you an idea of the various campaigns that you create a threat activity group and you group it, and you can see the campaigns that are sent, the volume, the delivered, the clicked, the percent delivered and the percent clicked based on the various campaigns. So you can start prioritizing the TTPs. The names of the activity groups are just a fancy way to kind of group a set of TTPs. Instead of listing off a long list, you're just like, oh, it's Blackpink. And people can look up in a repository, or spreadsheet what Blackpink actually means, RTF documents or God knows what, right? So that's just helpful for people in general. And you can also make a heat map. You can do this even weekly and present like a weekly turnover for your SOC or blue teamers or even IR for just a general awareness of the type of TTPs that are coming at your organization, or even for leadership as well. And you can leverage MITRE ATT&CK's Navigator and kind of see where the TTPs are overlapping. And based upon the type of purple team exercise that you pick, you gather all this data, you find out what the TTPs are coming in from your email, you track the campaigns coming in based on the threat activity group name that you have for it. And then from there, you can get an idea of the general TTPs that you're getting. And so you're like, oh, I see here on this MITRE ATT&CK heat map here that a lot of the stuff that's being sent to us, oh, wow, credential dumping is really popular. with the type of TTPs that are being sent to our organization right now, we should, I don't know, maybe look into that and perform a purple team exercise based on that involves credential dumping. So this is how utilizing the intelligence that's within your organization based on the attacks that are being sent to your org can actually contribute to purple team exercises. And this is just tracking of the various threats that are going to different departments, what type of malware. This is an example of a threat actor dossier that you can create, or a threat activity group dossier. And you can create this and track it over time based on the specific TTPs. And one tip that I have for CTI analysts, if they do decide to pursue this, is to have very specific procedures, because then it's easier, quote unquote, for like a red team to emulate the behaviors. And I did a talk for DEF CON's Blue Team Village, I think last year, on something called indicators of emulation, which is just when you're going through the open reports or even your internal intelligence, anything that red teamers can utilize to potentially emulate in a purple team exercise. I call them indicators of emulation, which are different than indicators of compromise. So with publicly reported threat actor reports, I recommend focusing on reports that have very detailed procedures or indicators of emulation. It'll make your life easier. A great example is the DFIR report. Also, too, when looking at the pyramid of pain, TTPs, of course, are a little bit harder for the adversary to modify. So, you know, looking at the credential dumping, looking at the ways, the behaviors that the threat actors use to compromise and get in, establish a foothold, you know, get the information that they need to continue their attacks, like that would be harder to modify than a hash value. So I always love David J. Bianco's Pyramid of Pain. And then prioritizing the threats. As you continue your research, you can prioritize it based upon your organization and your internal threat score. You can take the number of volume, the number of delivered, the number of clicked, or even create like a threat rating based on the purple team exercises, or even before the purple team exercises, of how easy it would be to exploit that. For instance, if you know you don't have controls for something or you don't have visibility, in my perspective, that would go higher up in the threat ranking, essentially, to feed into a purple team exercise so that you can test it, get detections, get controls, all of that. So when thinking in the context of purple teaming and measuring a threat and prioritizing the threat, think about what will help improve the security posture of the organization. If you have email security solution, you know, constantly looking into, or you block all the quote unquote known malicious attachments, and you block and make sure that HTA files can't be downloaded, you know, they're blocked in the proxy and they're blocked in your email. Just once you get all the basic stuff out of the way, right? I'm talking about prioritizing stuff after the basic stuff is done. Or I guess using prioritization to tackle the basic stuff, block the email attachments that are known malicious, right? And block the email file extensions that are bad, that you know are generally bad and you don't really have a business use case for them. Just block it and move on with your life for that specific thing, right? To just decrease the potential attack surface, especially if you don't need it, whatever it is, like IQY files, I believe. So, so how do you know which threat actor to pick? And so if you have no idea what to start with, I usually recommend just starting with what has been targeting your particular vertical. If you're like, I don't even know, you know, because I fit into 5 verticals, I don't know what I would pick. Another great suggestion is to look at size community threats. And in there, they put very relevant information with the detailed procedures that you can utilize to perform your purple team, whatever it is. If you're just like, I don't know what to do and I'm not going to look through the email. So where's the easy button? The easy button is Side's Community's Threats, which is free and publicly available. So you can also look at organization-specific incident to help you gain additional visibility within your organization. And you can basically run the exercises, whatever works best for your organization. Some people use Atomic Red Team, some people use Caldera, some people use other breach attack simulation products. Like, it's whatever works for you. Some people use the C2 matrix as well. So you gather your intelligence, and you gather your intelligence based on, whatever industry sharing group that you're in, whatever current collection system that you have. Then you extract the TTPs. With this, you can either go with stuff that has the procedures already extracted for you, or this is where upskilling your CTI analysts and helping them gain a little bit more on the forensic side of like being able to pivot through malware analysis reports, or even utilizing Manapa KA. He wrote a book on malware analysis to be able to extract behaviors. I believe he used volatility. So either way, whether you use publicly available reporting like the DFIR report that has essentially the detailed procedures already ready to go, or you upskill your CTI analysts or your blue teamers or whomever is contributing to your purple team exercise. So with this, I'm going to give you a really brief scenario to run through. It's the business's annual report. And basically a team is leading a program and they keep getting these malicious campaigns. And you see a purple exercise coming up and you're like, well, I wonder. I'm like, what happens if one of those actually gets through? This is really important to the business. I honestly have no idea where we're at with the TTPs of that specific malware. We don't have actions on objectives from the particular threat actor. We just have, let's say the malware lands on the box. We have all the TTPs related to the particular malware, and we have no idea, if it would be successful or not. Like we don't know. So we're going to test that out. And what I did is I threw the malware and I threw it up in AbuseCH Malware Bazaar. And then I ended up getting a bunch of sandbox results for it. And I went to the Joe Sandbox MITRE ATT&CK section, and in it you can see specific information. And then for the rest of this exercise, I pivoted through Atomic Red Team for the specific attack procedures. And on some of them, I actually had to look it up in Stack Overflow as well. So with the initial access, it's an email to an exe attachment. This is a really, really good example of what I said earlier of blocking stuff. Like most businesses, many businesses, some businesses, whatever, I really technically shouldn't be able to send in exe attachments to the average user, right? So that would be a really great block recommendation of just blocking exe attachments right out to like the general population of your organization. Execution, user execution. With this one, it checks to see if AV, antivirus and firewalls installed. So what I would do is that would be a really great recommendation for Hunt and also for the purple team exercise. And I found some commands on Stack Overflow, and then it does DLL side loading. If you have and all of this process injection, like all of this could be replicated in the purple team exercise. This particular behavior has been since 2015 and they haven't changed it since. So that would be possibly another good one to emulate. And you just go through like thing after thing after thing of what would be easy to potentially emulate within your environment. Here's another one, exe.log. That's interesting. So just go through, there's credential dumping with this one. It uses an info stealer here for browsers. And for collection, it does a capture email collection. It also did key logging as well. C2 matrix, you can look on there and see which type of C2 you'd like to utilize. Exfiltration, that would be a good area to go over your DLP policies and data exfil limits and all of that. Impact, I usually don't mess with that one too much, just because, we're not going to deploy ransomware. That would be bad, right? So you analyze and organize everything once you extract all the TTPs, and you can put it in a spreadsheet or whatever's easier for you. And then basically, this is where you put your plan together as far as how it's executed in what order. So you can use the community threats. You can use the org-specific example that I gave you. You can use the Mordor project, Atomic Red Team, the MITRE ATT&CK adversary emulation plan for APT3 or APT29, or other open source reporting, such as the DFIR report. And then you hand it over to the red team and the purple team people to emulate. So you have then the other teams go and prepare, and they decide which TTPs are going to test. And then you have exercise execution. And that's basically it. So through the exercise, you saw a practical example of how CTI can be used in a purple team exercise. And it's kind of based on what you have available to perform the exercise, and then the skill set of the red teamers. Do you have a super crazy skilled red team, which is great, or are you starting out with, we're going to have some blue teamers just launch atomic red team, right? And we're going to start there, see what value we get from that, and then move on. So Roberto Rodriguez, he has a really great tracking sheet for threat hunt exercises to kind of help determine and follow the progression of the testing that you're doing for purple team exercises. He also, Mauricio Velasco and Olindo Verio, he did something called Attack to Jira to be able to track these purple team exercises in Jira, which is awesome. It auto-populates the attack TTPs. And what I did is I added, you have it for CTI, detection, hunt, maturity, NIST, if your organization decides to map back to some sort of standard for overarching standard, purple and red, so you can individually track the TTPs and where they've been tested, or it's really easy to just press and go and populate a whole thing with Attack to Jira. So you can just launch this, get all the TTPs, and per purple team exercise, use Jira to track which TTPs are being utilized versus not, and then you can get a picture over time. So, and then I also, on my GitHub, which I will share during this talk, I have, if you're I don't know where to start with purple, I don't care about the vertical, I don't want to do the email thing, then I have something called the Purple Idea Exercise Queue, where basically you can pick anything out of there that has it labeled as purple team, and then just have at it and go. I've already been all right, if I were in charge of this, I would want to test this. So I've already done the research, you just have to pull it yourself. So how can you keep the party going? Essentially, get a copy of the Purple Team Exercise Framework, and I'm available for questions if you have any. Purple and CTI works great together. CTI helps maximize the value of Purple Team exercises to the business. So in this talk, I showed you the value of CTI with Purple Team exercises. Thank you so much, and the future is purple.